Controversial data retention laws are set to come under further scrutiny at a public hearing today. The laws would force telecommunications companies to store customers' metadata for 2 years.
Coalition MP Dan Tehan is the chair of the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence and Security. He joins us now from Parliament House. Dan Tehan, good morning. Thank you for making time.
Pleasure, Virginia. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I understand the committee's received about 194 submissions, which is a very strong response. Are the majority supportive or critical of expanded data retention powers?
Look, there are mixed views, as you would expect. This is a subject which is hotly contested. The government has put forward legislation that the committee is going to be looking at that. We will look at all the submissions. We'll take public evidence. We'll obviously then also take evidence from our security agencies, and then we will make our recommendations on the legislation. But the best thing about this process is it's completely transparent. People have the ability to put in submissions. They've done that in large numbers, as you've pointed out, and I think the process will mean that we get hopefully a very good piece of legislation in the end.
So just to clarify quickly then, were the majority supportive or critical of the idea?
Well, it depends. If you look at individuals, I think we've had a lot of individual submissions. Some of them take a form where people just use a pro forma. So this isn't the type of thing where you look at, OK, who's pro, who's for, what are the numbers. What you look at is the substance in the submission. That's what's the most important thing here, is what are the concerns people are raising, what are the reasons people are saying, yes, we need this. They're the things that the committee will be looking at. We won't. If this just became a game about who puts in the most number of submissions, it would make the process meaningless.
Dan Tehan, if most Australian police agencies have been unable to say just how many times phone or web data has been used or been useful in preventing serious crime, how can the federal government demonstrate the need then for these new laws?
Well, look, the evidence is coming out. We've taken another submission from the AFP, which has pointed to more examples of where this data has been useful in solving crimes. We've also taken information of where it's been important in solving child crimes committed against children. So, look, this is the type of evidence that the committee wants to consider. And some people will put the view that we need more information as to how this is important to solving serious crime, to making sure that we can do everything we can to keep the nation safe from international security threats, that type of thing. So the committee, we've got 2 days of deliberation over the next 2 days. We met before Christmas to examine this, and we'll spend at least a day or 2 days considering what our recommendations will be.
That's not a lot of time, though, for a major change in our policy settings in this country, and ones that have been described as invasive of our privacy. But it seems from the very positive way in which you speak about that second AFP submission, that this is a committee set up only to establish support for a bit of legislation that's already been put together by the government.
I wouldn't agree with that point of view. Obviously, we've looked at 2 other major pieces of national security legislation last year as a committee. We made recommendations, a number of recommendations which were accepted by the government. They were bipartisan. I can tell you every member of the committee takes their role incredibly seriously. We have long and detailed discussions about what our recommendations should be. We are dealing with the nation's national security, and every member of that committee, and there are very experienced members on the committee, take their role very seriously. And one of the very good things about the committee is people see their role as acting in the national interest. This is every report that we've put forward has been bipartisan, and the focus has very much been on, OK, what is in the best interest of the nation going forward in this area.
Just to turn to the other big topic of the day, how damaging has the Duke of Edinburgh knighthood been to your government?
Well, I think the most important thing is that we now focus on what's important to Australia and local communities. That is the thing that the government was elected to do, and that's what we need to do. We have
So just to jump in then, how damaging and how distracting has it been to have this issue when you have, as you say, such important issues for the nation to consider?
Well, Virginia, I think you as the commentator are best placed to put a view on that. I'm a member of Parliament. I represent the electorate of Wannon. I want to make sure that the issues that are important to my communities are the ones which are on the agenda. I want to make sure...
Well, on that score then, let me ask you, because Tony Abbott has promised to be more consultative, but isn't the problem that you have a leader who thought such a knighthood was a good idea in the first place? Isn't the problem that he's out of touch and no matter of consultation would ever change that?
Well, to start with, I think it's a good thing that the Prime Minister has come out and said that he's going to be more consultative. I think good government is government which does consult, which is very transparent, which makes sure it goes out and hears the views of the community and then puts the issues which are important to the community on its agenda. And if you look, that's what the government will be doing this year. We've got a families package which is going to be announced. We're looking at tax reform. There's workplace relations reform. There's the intergenerational report. We've got to form another budget. These are the things that the Australian people want us to see that we're getting on with and that we're using these to deliver for them. And that is what the government will be doing this year. It is a full agenda. It's one which will focus on communities and that's what I want to see us do.
Well then, on that point, if the Prime Minister is to consult more, as you've been promised, would you have an expectation then that you could be able to persuade him to stop a course of action that you considered wrong? Is that what you understand consultation to be?
Well, look, there are processes that every government has where you make decisions or you think about making decisions, and we have a party room, we have a cabinet, and the decisions go to those, and there you have robust discussions and you come out and you make a final decision.
So these decisions need to go more to the party room, need to go more to not just cabinet but to the party room and more broadly, in your view?
Well, it's clear that the knighthood decision didn't go to cabinet and it didn't go to the party room.
And it wouldn't have gone ahead if it had, would it?
Well, look, that's conjecture. Well, that's conjecture.
You're in the party room, not me.
Yes, no, look, that's conjecture, and I think you could probably say that from what we've heard, but being frank, that no, it probably wouldn't have. And I think the Prime Minister has been very open, frank, and coming out and saying, look, he should have consulted more on this. And I think the most important thing now is that we move on, that we really focus on the matters which are important to Australia, because that's what we're here to deliver as a government. That's why we fought so hard to win government, because we thought that we had a positive agenda for the nation's future. And we've got to get on and put that agenda out there and convince the Australian people that we need to be re-elected again.
Let me just finally read to you an interesting observation from Nikki Sava, of course, well known to you and others. Of course, she worked in the office of the former Treasurer, Peter Costello. Frontbenchers as well as backbenchers are realising it's time to stop criticising staff and start directing the blame for the government's predicament where it really belongs, with him. By that she means Tony Abbott. They now accept that they have to convince him to change, and if they can't, they'll be forced to consider changing him. Can you change Tony Abbott?
Look, the thing about what Nikki's saying there, and I think it's very relevant to every member of Parliament in the government, that the buck stops with them. Individual responsibility.
The buck stops with the Prime Minister.
Well, the buck stops with all of us, and we shouldn't forget that. I mean, the performance of the government, we are a team. We are a team. We are a party. We're a coalition.
What if the guy leading your team doesn't truly represent you?
Well, look, the point here is, and what Nikki is saying is, it's up to all of us to be doing our job better. It's up to me to be doing my job better. It's up to the Cabinet to be doing their job better. And as the Prime Minister has said, he has to consult more and he has to listen more. And we need to get focused again on the things which are important for Australian communities. And that is what I will be focused on, and that's what I'll be saying to myself every day. Let's make sure this government is going to be delivering for our local communities, because that is what we're elected to do.
Well, Tehan, I think you dodged a bullet in that column, because she doesn't name you as someone who's got to lift your game and change you, at least not yet. We'll see how you go for the future.
Thanks very much, Virginia.
Good on you. Thanks so much,
Cheers.
Dan.
Bye.